Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Saturday. And today we're on Africa time. So just a little bit later than what we usually are. So forgive me for the delay. But yeah, Brock and I were just talking about a few things behind the scenes here. So welcome, everybody. And welcome to, as I said, Saturday. Me, Chantelle, your hostess with the mostest, everything. Awesome guests and viewers. And I have with me today Brock from Nesara 17. And we're going to be talking about things that are occurring at the end times, Mark of the Beast, stuff like that. See what's going on there. There's so much talk about that right now. But yeah, let's see what Brock has to say about that. But before I just before we go ahead, just one or two announcements. After my show with Brock at 6 p.m. Central African time, I've got Jerry Marzinski with me. We're going to be talking about narcissism, schizophrenia, the commonalities between the two, which is, again, I think at the time it's really pertinent and relevant information. And then, of course, tomorrow, Patreon Book Club with Jesse. So look forward to seeing you all either later on this evening again or tomorrow. And welcome, everybody. It's so good to see you all. And sending you lots of love from far and wide. All the wenches are here, I see. Yay. Anyway, without any further ado, Brock, how are you,
Hello.
Brock? Welcome. Nice to see you
Hey.
again.
Hey, thanks for having me
How's it
on
going?
again. It's always a pleasure to be on with you. And you're a very wise, patient woman. So everybody, the audience appreciates you, and so happy that you have a wide variety of topics that you can address. So
Well, thank you. Yes. I was just actually saying the other day, I think I just love the realm of guests that I have and have had in the past as well, I must say, because there's so much disclosure going on and people are really coming to the fore with information now. The most recent one, I don't know if you saw as well, was Beverly Rhodes, this well, I call her ex-South African because I know her as being a South African, but she's from the UK, came to South Africa and is in 99 pretty much had to get out. But yeah, spilling the tea. She was the seer or the psychic to our ex-presidents. And she had a 25-year indictment and is now starting to speak. So she's doing disclosure, yeah, with me, which is amazing. And honestly,
wow,
she
that's
speaks
great.
about, yeah, and how, because her surname is Rhodes and Cecil John Rhodes is a big name. And she's from that lineage where she was first involved with Savile and the royals and stuff in the UK doing horrific things. And basically, because this guy was so horrific, he was then sent to South Africa to set up the child transportation rings here.
Oh man,
And of course, it was just at the time that our politics was changing, that just before the ANC came in, our country was ripe. I mean, innocent, ripe. We'd been like sort of sanctioned, right? Because there were so many sanctions against us. We couldn't go anywhere for such a long time. And then, of
right.
course, boom, everything just opened up. And it's actually, some of the stories are quite heartbreakingly horrific that's been going on here. So we're going to be hearing a lot. And it's not just South Africa. This is kind of the central hub of
Yeah,
so
it's
much.
worldwide.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, now that
And
you brought
so,
that up, sorry, go ahead. I'll
no,
jump
no,
in
carry on.
when you're ready.
No, no, carry on.
Yeah, I have a brand new source that is working on uh, stopping child trafficking and working on rescue missions and stuff, which is very exciting. Me growing up basically in a Christian house, I always wanted to have kids. I love children. They bring you so much joy. You know that, I know. But it's a shame. I mean, most of us are normal people. We can't even imagine like all the bad and evil stuff that they do with kids and they actually treat them worse than dogs, you know. If somebody treated dogs like this, they would go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So they're treating them
Totally.
subhuman, which is, disgusting. But to get back to it, we have to unfortunately talk about it. It's very negative and nasty, but we have to shine the light on it so that it can get exposed.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, that's the only way. It's not just going to dissolve into nothingness. You know, we've all been on this planet, we've all been ignorant for a long time to some of the atrocities that are going on here. And, you know, together we shine the light and together we heal. So healing is never a pleasant thing. It's always painful and yucky in the beginning, but then it gets better. So that's why, certainly why we do this, that's for sure. But anyway, Brock, I'd like to hear from you today what you have to say about, like, yeah, I suppose, depending, I guess, which calendar you're looking at, these are end times or beginning times. But whatever they are chaotic times. But I'm a
No, you're
great
right.
believer that from out of the chaos, the peace is born. So from these times, really, peace is available to us. I'm a great believer in that. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, no, you're right. I mean, first off, if you're not a Christian and you're listening to this, we're not here to necessarily preach at you, but you'll see when we go through this talk and studying on your own that really the Bible really blends with end times, what we're in now. And the reason we say end times is because the Bible describes a very chaotic period with earthquakes, wars, famines, pestilence, all this negative stuff that happens. And then there's a final 7 years that it talks about. And after the final 7 years, this is the key. After that, and after the tribulation, as it's called, we have 1,000 years of peace, the millennial reign. So you have a very terrible, the worst time on earth. We have nuclear weapons, we have bioengineered viruses. We have all kinds of stuff that are thrown at us out of our control. Some we can prepare from, some we can't. But like I said, if you're not a Christian, you're listening to this, I really urge you to pay attention and do your own research on this and read Revelations and also the end of Isaiah. There's some scriptures in the book of Ezekiel, and it's super applicable to present day. There's one scripture in Isaiah that says, what people used to call good, now they call evil, and vice versa. And so, I mean, I don't think if I had brought my great grandpa lived to be an old man, like 97 or 98. He fought in World War One. He was a trench raider, and that was the first real modern war that was brutal. I mean, bloody. The death tolls were insane, and the trench warfare was nuts. To horrible conditions. He made it through that, and he was a very tough man. Uh, because of that. But if I had brought him here today and said, "You're doing what with your kids? Your kid wants to change from a boy to a girl, and you think that's okay?" He would just, his mind would be blown about all that. But getting back to
Right,
the end times, President Trump is pro business, but he's also pro technology. And, technology is a neutral. You know, uh, you can take electricity and you can make an electric motor and make an electric bike and give people that can't afford cars, especially down here in Florida, it's nicer weather. They can literally take their standard of living from having to ride the bus up to when they ride the bike, they have their freedom back and they don't have the $5,000 a year that it costs to own a car with tags, insurance, gas, whatever. And or you can take electricity and do negative stuff and shock people to death with it. So everything is neutral.
right,
you know uh,
exactly,
Firearms can take a human life. They can also provide food for your family. You can go hunting with it
exactly.
and take a deer and get meat and feed your entire family. So everything is neutral. That's how I look at it. So what we're going into, President Trump wants to set the stage. President Trump really wants to bring back some of that technology that went to Taiwan and China And in particular, he signed executive orders and is working on legislation to bring artificial intelligence data centers in the states. Texas is going to be a hub. There's other places that are they're going to be hubs. I even heard that Alaska has big time for cryptocurrency because the computers put off lots of heat, and we're talking anywhere from 20,000, well, 10,000 square feet, all the way up to 100,000 square feet. That's a huge building, and each computer is like this big. It's in a rack. I'll show you guys the pictures, and all of those produce heat. So they're going to need cooling. They're going to need a whole bunch of stuff, a lot of electricity. You're going to see micro, they have a new technology with micro nuclear plants where instead of using the nuclear rods, which are big and put off the heat to make the electricity, they're using little tiny, almost like a BB, but like a ball bearing size uh, uranium pellets. And the efficiency is way higher, and they're going to start building all of these nuclear power plants with that. So when you hear AI and you hear technology, a lot of us recoil and say, "Oh man, we're going to lose all of our jobs. We're going to lose this." There will be displacement. That we have to figure out as a society. And I'm not excited about when people lose jobs. It makes me sad. However, it's going to change. It's going to take us into the new era. I believe in 10 years a lot of the stuff that we do daily is going to be different, and it's going to look different, and people have to kind of to flex with it without compromising their morals. So that's kind of how I wanted to set the stage with that.
So, what, in your opinion, is the new era that we moving into within the next decade?
We're
What
going
does
to
that look
see.
like for you?
Oh, well, we're always going to have pushback from evil people, okay? But if we can break through to that, we're going to have medical healing. We're going to have, you guys know about med beds. I have pictures of those, which I can share to you. Medical healing. We're going to have financial breakthroughs, you know, assuming that we can do this correctly. There's going to be opportunity for people to make money like they did in the Industrial Revolution. So if you invest or in the right thing, I'm not talking about a lot of money. I'm talking about, a normal investment, then you have the potential to make, po- potentially generational wealth. So you have that. You have health, finances, transportation. We're already seeing transportation now that we're bringing down the price of electric motors and lithium batteries. You come down here to Florida, like I said, people that were poor before can't afford a car. They can go buy an electric scooter or an electric bike, and boom, they have their transportation freedom back, just like that. And that is a very big positive if you have the right government. Like Florida has Governor DeSantis put into laws. There's he's not as strict as he could be. Okay, so like California, they you can actually get a ticket if you have the wrong type of electric bike there. Here, that'll never happen unless you're doing an actual traffic violation. So there's general rules of thumbs that all the states are putting into existence, but some states want to make electric scooters, for example, totally illegal. Instead of being more rational and saying, "Hey, well, let's let's put a speed limit where you can't go above 20 miles an hour on the sidewalk." So long story short, you're gonna have a mobility revolution too, and eventually I believe they're gonna move away from lithium as far as transportation, and they're gonna come out with either a better battery chemistry or another way to generate electricity. And you know, I think you're going to have a lot more hybrid vehicles. You're going to have hydrogen powered cars that also have an electric motor. You're going to have stuff like that. So um, those are the three main categories where I think, health, financial, and transportation are probably the biggest that will change.
What's interesting, and I'm going to pop up Colleen's comment here, and I have the same question on that, because that, of course, is exactly what this whole electric society is right now. And really, because we know that going into this new era where we pretty much controlled. And as Colleen there says, kind of pull the plug on it all. They can decide where you go or not. If they don't want you to go out of your area, they can decide that as well. So you say it'll never ever happen in certain areas. I mean, what guarantee does anyone have of that?
We have no
Does
guarantees
anyone
in life.
have
Yeah.
that
And
these things exactly? So my point, Brock, with this whole thing, if you're looking med beds, you damn know my opinion on med beds. I do not believe in those things, not for 1 second, because I believe, firstly, from previous shows and things we've done, I mean, these things are often powered with soul gems and stuff like that.
but
So
it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. There's more than one way to make a med bed.
Even if it doesn't have to be that way, what we're doing is we're taking ourselves further and further away from spirit. Now, we all get that your spirit, your connection to God, is the strongest of everything. Anything and everything. That overrides anything and everything. That is faith over fear, basically. So even though we're talking faith over fear, we're talking med beds, we're talking financial markets here, we're talking cancer injections that clone your DNA, we're talking neurolinks. That is not anywhere getting closer to spirit.
Okay.
And empowering us as human beings to start learning our own powers. Because that's really what everything, I mean, if we go back to ancient times, human beings, we had these abilities, these gifts, these resources freely available to us. And it's been taken away. And now it's just going in that direction again. So none of this stuff to me feels like it's where I want to go at all. At all. So I'm
Well,
not, I mean, what
there
is
is a
your take?
line. No, there is a line that we're going to go right on the line, and then I'll tell you, okay, this is where I draw my line. I'm not going further this way or that way. So we'll speak about that. And my personal line is I don't want anything implanted in me as far as electronics go. That's what I don't want. So I got yes, like I said, I got a bunch of pictures we'll go through, and I'll explain it to everyone. But I don't. That's where I draw the line. And like with the med beds, just to touch base quickly on this, with med beds, there's more than one way to do it. Like the crystal thing you were talking about, that's one way. There's another way where you can just use light energy and different frequencies of light, which stimulates your own stem cells to repair yourself. There's nothing wrong with it's like the equivalency of that is like me taking, let's say I want to take creatine, it makes me feel better after I work out. Well, I get a high quality creatine, I take it. It's not there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a health supplement. So with the ones that are light based, you lay in it like a tanning bed. You lay down and it gives you light energy, and then that stimulates your stem cells to heal everything. So, like I said, there's probably 3 or 4 different types. Not all of them are bad. Some of them you might not like, but others are, neutral, I would
It's
say.
it sounds like you're talking like the Rife machines, because the Rife machines are more based on that type of frequency, the light
Mhm.
frequency, and of course you get different type of frequencies that stimulate different. Obviously there's a lot of frequencies, so the different Rife machines do have slightly different frequencies and energies. That to me is no problem. When you're using something to actually enhance. So you're working with something like that, because what it does do, yes, it does stimulate the cells in the body to actually
Mhm.
then activate it again and start healing for your body to restore its own healing, because our bodies are designed to heal themselves. You see, we
For
must never
sure.
forget that. And all of this technology here is taking that away from us. And that
Well,
is
not
where
all of
our
it.
power lies. Most of it is. Most of it is. That is where our power lies, in our ability to know. It's like, know thyself. Part of knowing ourselves is to know the power that lives within us. And when we're aligned to God in the way that we should be, your body heals itself. It does. And all of this telling I agree. Like, for example, with the patches, with the LifeWave patches, which
Yep.
also bring, those stimulate this also stuff like that I work with. I'm happy to work with. But when it comes to these hectic med beds and things, not a chance. And when it comes to implanting, having all sorts of DNA cloning injections and Neurolinks, no thanks. And any
Yeah, we're going
injection,
to talk
any
about that.
vaccine. Yeah,
Yeah, I get it. I don't want
cool.
to implant as well. I'm just adding
Not
some
going to
pictures on
happen.
here.
Yeah, cool. Nicole, you've got some up here. Do you want me to start putting them
Yeah,
forward?
let's do the Revelation one, the scripture. Let's start there first for
I think
context.
you're
It
going to have
says,
to put, which is that the brain microchip? I don't know which one, yeah. Not sure
no, you
which
just have
one.
to scroll down. There's one that says Revelation 13.
Okay, there. There we go.
You
Okay,
see
cool.
that?
Yeah.
All right. So this scripture, where do we get the, if you, like, again, if you're not a Christian or you're Christian, you never heard this before, where do we get the term mark of the beast? So in here, the scripture describes, I think let me try and read it there. It's small on my screen. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads. And we'll show pictures of that. And that no one may buy or sell except him who has the mark, the name of the beast, and the number of his name. Now, his name and the number of his name, you can debate that, but it tells you the location. And every time you see a RFID implant or a chip implant, they always show the wrist and the forehead. The reason for this, the body naturally has temperature fluctuations, and these little things, how they recharge themselves, are with the temperature fluctuations in the body, believe it or not. And the best two places are your forehead and your wrist. So the scripture here, now the Bible, again, you may not like it, fine, but there's a lot of things that have been proven historically accurate in the book of Kings, some things even in Genesis. Recently, underneath the Alaska Mosque, they found, within the past 10 years or so, they found pieces of tile from the original or from the second temple. Uh, I think it was David's temple was the second temple, but they found tiles from the temple period before it was destroyed in around 70 AD, and that proved that the temple was real and that the Jewish people were in the nation of Israel back then. So and they even found things from Goliath. They found some pieces that said Goliath on them in their whatever language they had. So there's a lot of historical things that have been proven out in the Bible. So even if you're not a Christian, you can say, well, a lot of it is historically accurate, a large majority. So here they're making a prediction about the future, and we'll go on to the next pictures here. But this is where we get the term from. Let's go over a couple and go to the wearable one, the blue one, the blue thing, blue bracelet, excuse me. All right, this is how it starts out, okay? It starts out with smart watches where you can link a bunch of stuff to it, which so far now is fine. You're not putting anything in your body. Then the next thing is they're going to go to that. Now, you may not know this. There's resorts here in Florida. It's probably the number one or number two vacation spot in the country, maybe Hawaii and Florida, I would say. You already have these in the resorts. The resort will sign you up and give you this wristband, and it has your ID and your money and everything on it. This is what it looks like. So it's going to start out with this. And unfortunately, even somebody I heard RFK, there was a clip of him saying that he wants these for everybody, these bracelets. So we're going to evolve from the bracelet to chips. So go to the one that says
Well,
RFID implant. It's a little bit below that.
So why does RFK want people to wear these?
I don't know. I just heard a clip of him say that. I think he wanted it for health data, but there's other ways to do it.
That's
So look how
dodgy.
small that is. That's about the size of a grain of rice. It's tiny. So the RFID is radio frequency identification. So it means when you get close to something, it will recognize it. Like you have your tap on your credit card, same principle. You tap your credit card, you don't have to actually put it into something and have the electrical connections be made on the credit card reader. You can just get it close and it'll pick it up. Same thing with this. And people already have these. There's already people that have signed up for experiments where they have already had them in their wrist and they can just go pay for something. So now we don't know how this is going to roll out, uh, or if it's going to be mandatory or voluntary. But obviously, uh, you know, if it's voluntary, I suggest that people don't take it.
Um, that is already very creepy because if what you were saying earlier on is that depending on who's governing the state or whoever's making the laws around that will decide. So now we're saying we don't know if it's going to be voluntary or mandatory. I mean, there's just too many what ifs here. This thing that RFK is wanting people to wear these bracelets and then to evolve into the chips. I mean, are we blind? Are we not seeing what's going on here? That to me are like neon lights. Right there is your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Right there is your answer. They're getting your information. Why? Because we're seeing where they're trying to evolve us to. Not a chance. Huh. Hi,
Yeah,
Connor.
exactly. All right, then the next picture to the right is a different view of the microchip.
Which one is that? This guy?
See that one? That's an actual one. I found a screenshot of an actual one. Just another, showing you how small it is. And then let's go to the first one that says brain microchip implant. All right, so I believe that this is an actual picture of stuff they've already been using. Neuralink has helped people that were paralyzed to be able to do other functions and speak and stuff. They've had implants for 15 years for deaf people where they can now hear again. I'll let everybody make their own moral judgment on that, but I would prefer that I not have that. But you guys make your own moral judgment. But the ones that can help people hear has nothing. The Bible says that the B system of the chip will be tied to buying and selling. So obviously the one that helps you hear has nothing to do with buying and selling. So I'm not making a moral judgment on that, but I'm just explaining, what they look like and where they go.
Hmm. Well, I will refrain from commenting because I've got nothing good to say about that. I mean, okay. Let's when you talk about these things being implemented in, for people who can't talk or paralyzed or what have you. Yes, I think that is really a question of what you morally believe in or what's right or not for you. But I think, again, it's like the human psyche always fights to live. It's always going to fight to live. So again, it's almost like buying into that because everyone, wants to live. So they then using that on humans to say, okay, well, I can keep you alive longer. Is that not playing God with a human being? I don't know. Again, as you say, that's a moral question. And I think everyone has to decide for themselves. But for me, this is like dangling the carrot in front of the gullible human again. Hey, look, You don't need to be sick anymore. Hey, look, just put a chip in your head and you can walk again and you can hear again. How tempting. Of course, it's going to be tempting. Of course, the most average person is going to want that.
It'll also make
I
you
don't know.
smarter too, is what they claim. You can increase your intelligence.
Wow. Well, you see, there
So
you
there's going to
go.
be a lot of temptation for it. I understand the temptation aspect.
Well, there you go. What can we say to that?
Let's go to the, can you see the one where it says RFID chip forehead?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to that. All right. Here's one that would go on the forehead. Now there's stuff out now that's called smart tattoo. So what that is a tattoo that just barely goes on the surface, a little bit into your skin, but it's put on like that. And it's almost literally like a tattoo, but it has the RFID aspect in it. Here's one on a guy's forehead that the guy volunteered for. See how, can you guys see that image? How that is barely lining up there?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Wow.
And they also have these for the wrist.
Crazy.
So the next one over is for the wrist. There we go. That's a better image. Can you see how that's sort of, it almost looks like it's burned into the skin, but it's a circuit. Can you see that?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. And then, if you keep reading into Revelation, they say that it causes these people to have sores. So uh, that could be from the body rejecting the material, or the frequency that it's communicating with is causing the body to hurt. But there's more scriptures in there that says the people that take the mark also get sores. It doesn't I don't know if it says exactly where, but it says you get a sore on your body when you take it.
Hmm.
Okay, and then the next one over is an x-ray of somebody that already had it actually in their hand. So they were debating putting it right in here, behind the muscle. There's a muscle right here so we can grip, but up in this web area of our hand, you could sneak a chip in there as well. But from what I heard, that they say the wrist, this area is the best area for their the best area for their the temperature fluctuation to recharge it automatically.
Wow. I've seen that actually. I've seen uh, little video clips of these guys. They have it on the wrist and they'll walk past a vending machine and just go peep and then dung, whatever falls out. Some with ATM machines.
hmm I should also say that people probably 15 to 20 years ago were saying that the barcode, a standard barcode with lines, was the mark of the beast because it has embedded a six, and a six. And the Bible says that the number of the beast is 666. And there's a little bit of mystery into interpreting Revelation. A lot of things are symbolic, but there was claim that the barcode itself was the mark of the beast. So then now they have smart barcodes that they can put on your wrist, which are RFID, and have a barcode symbol, barcode lines, I should say, as well. So there was debate about that. I'm not super sold on that. Just a barcode, like you flip over any product and it has a barcode on the back, and they say that, let me see if this box has one. Yeah, it's got one. So they say embedded in there is 3 6s, but I don't see it on this. This is a box of screws. I don't see 3 6s on that barcode. But the shape of that barcode, they can actually put on people's wrists right now.
Hmm.
And then the next one over is a smart wrist tattoo. Yeah, there you go. So that's another way that it could look. So it's semi-permanent, and then you can buy and sell. And the key with this, what the scripture says, is that it's linked to the beast system, whatever that means. Let's say financial system, and you can buy and sell with it. And that you can only buy and sell with it. So they're implying that there's no cash.
Right. So it's now gone to a cashless society. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I think there's. Do you want me to go to the other center, the other
Yeah,
pics?
let's go
Oh,
through the pictures from the data centers, and then I'd like to take any questions if you've got them.
sure.
Okay, so that's an overview. That's like the aerial view of a data center. All it is a big building that looks like a warehouse with racks and racks and racks of computers in it. I myself am working on a project with those buildings now, which I can't discuss on air, but there's a lot that goes into that. And like I said, this stuff here is not necessarily evil, but the financial system will, for sure, the mark of the beast financial system 100% will be connected to this data center where all these supercomputers are. They'll know everything about you. Matter of fact, they probably already do, because there's data files on everyone that has a Google account, for example. They know your age, your gender, they know where you live, they know what you buy, they know probably what your hobbies are based off of what you buy. So they already know a lot about you, and all that is stored somewhere in a data center that looks like that. Okay, if you can go to the next one, it says data center rack.
Okay, let me just make sure I get the right one. Okay, there we go.
Okay, those are your individual computer racks. So all of those are obviously connected to the internet, but they all storage information. So with artificial intelligence, it needs something to learn off of. So you have to say, learn from this set of data, learn from that set of data, and it's all stored somewhere. And this is what it looks like where it's physically stored. Now, all those is like, you could say that one of those in the rack going horizontally is a computer, essentially a computer. It's not, we call them servers and stuff, but so, and then each one of, there's like 10 of them high or whatever. And then there's probably rows and rows and rows. I don't know how many, say 25 rows of that. And all of those produce heat. So all those need to be, need a super heavy duty air conditioning system, and they're going to need a lot of power. So a potential issue is if they put these in and they give these guys priority over power, you're going to cause blackouts to major cities and stuff like that. So, like I said, if you can prepare and stuff, and you read about that one of these is coming in your area, you should probably try to get backup power if you can, like solar or backup battery system or something, because when these things fluctuate, they can suck so much juice from the grid that you'll have a blackout in a town or something like that. Until they make these new micro nuclear power plants, I predict you're gonna have a lot of blackouts where these things are.
I think it's already happening. I think it's already happening. I mean, haven't you guys in the States recently had quite a few blackouts, power failures, power cuts, stuff like that?
Yeah, but a lot of that's been from hacking. From
Hmm.
those are bad entities from another foreign power, another state actor, which I'm not going to really get in detail, but I know that's true. And
Well, isn't
we've
well,
just been we've been very blessed that we haven't had anything super major, but there's been a lot of bad actors that have been hitting us.
but doesn't that make it even that much more scary? Is that foreign powers can hit you like that? I
Oh, for
mean,
sure.
if if a foreign power can hit you guys like that, imagine what they can do to the individual on the street, and imagine it's already being done. That's the thing. And if that, my
maybe, but
point
right
is that if
there.
we, hmm,
No, I'm sorry. I was gonna say they don't care about the individual at this point. They're trying to hurt the nation as a whole, the bad actors. So they're not going after individual people at this point, for the most part.
um, I definitely think they are. I mean, just look at how they hitting us in every other way. Of course, they hitting us, and that's why I say if they can just if that's what China can do to America, think about what the different countries or counties can do to the individuals with their information and literally just able to pull a plug and do whatever they want.
Well,
So
like I
I
said,
say
if you
no
can
to
get,
all of it.
yeah, I hear you. If you can get backup power, we live in Florida. We have hurricanes. I have a battery box like this that I use, which will run my mini refrigerator for 12, 14 hours maybe. Um, So if you guys, I know money is really tight for everyone, including, myself with the hyperinflation, but if you can do something like that, there's different brands that make them. There's one Blue Eddy, there's one called Jackery, but those things are, I wouldn't say a lifesaver, but they definitely are helpful. When you say, well, I can run my mini fridge, and then the grocery store won't have, they won't be full, right? But you can get your essentials. Say, well, turkey's sold out, so I just can get beef. And then, or I can only get hot dogs. So that's fine. You just have to eat that for a few days until people recover from the storm. So, um, you know, down here where it's, the same mentality as camping, have a way to cook, have a way to store your food, and stuff like that. So we're kind of used to it, unfortunately. But yeah, these data centers are major power hogs. So until they find solutions, once they connect them to the grid, you're going to get brownouts and blackouts. Um, anyway, we can go to the next picture if you want. There you go. Yep. I've actually worked in places that, oop, you missed it. There you go. I've worked in places that look like that. And this guy's doing some maintenance on there. That's like a server room, basically. That's how they look. And there's your racks. And keep in mind all the heat those things put off. And you can go the next one over. Here's just another view. This is probably a high-end one, like a Google or Apple or Facebook, Meta. This is a nice one, a really nice one. I don't know who that is, but it's one that I found. Um, but that's how they look like. Let me go through the pictures and see if we got everything before we go to questions. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to be clicking around here. Let's see. What else did we get? We got that. We might have hit everything. Yeah, I think we did hit everything. I think we are good on the pictures, Chantelle. Oh, I can't hear you. Shoot, I lost
Got
my audio.
myself on
Hang on.
mute.
There we
No,
go.
no, I put myself on mute there for a minute. Um, yeah, it's. I think we can all agree that technology, really, at the end of the day, is what they're using. And as we know, technology is good and bad. I mean, we certainly couldn't be having conversations like this without technology, which is wonderful. But again, whether it's used or abused, and at what point do we stop? So again, I think everything in moderation. Interesting question here from Leanne. Do you know why the sun is turning white?
No, but I'll tell you that I'm speculating. Now, I've read, I would say I'm well read. Of course, I don't know everything, but I've read about the sun shifting and changing. There's actually some people, okay, you have your evolutionary scientists that don't believe in God, etc. Then you have Christian scientists, and of course I lean towards the Christian based ones. However, your sun will go through a cycle, and eventually a lot of them become what's called a red dwarf. But the light frequency energy will change from the sun as the sun ages. So the regular evolutionary scientists will tell you this takes millions and millions and millions of years, but I personally don't believe that. I believe it's thousands. So I think that our sun is in, long story short, I think our sun is in the process of changing to the next phase, whether that's red dwarf or I forget what type of sun we have, but I believe it's changing there. And the Bible does hint at that. They said that this solar rays will feel differently in the end times. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing a spike. And if you used to have your 1 to 10 scale of UV radiation, 1 being low, 10 being high, but now they say really it's like a 12. So like when I was a kid, I could come down here for a couple hours and get a tan and not get burned. And now I got about 30 minutes and then I get a sunburn with no suntan lotion. Again, I'm in a
Right.
subtropical state, but uh, they're saying now that it goes really up to 12 instead of 10, the UV radiation.
Wow. Could be. I mean, we are. I mean, we obviously are. We're at the changing times. The planet is changing. Every era, every changing. It's like I'm trying to give an analogy. It's like giving birth. You're giving birth to a new time, and I think we can all agree that that's happening. And whenever that is occurring, there's always chaos, and there's always this, I don't know, fight between right and wrong, light and dark, up and down, you know. And I definitely think a lot has to do with that as well. The times that are changing, not necessarily anything nefarious all the time. So we
Right.
also got to look at the positive. Got to focus on as much negativity as what's going on. I mean, since we live on a planet of duality, at the same time,
Right.
as much light is available to us as well. If we choose to go digging around in the dark and in the lower frequencies, of course we're going to create chaos there if we're going to choose to be there. So choose to walk in the light, then we're good. It's as simple as that. For me, I don't know if you have anything to say to that. I want to just check here quickly. In fact,
Oh
Dottie had
yeah,
a question earlier on.
definitely walk in the light. Yeah, definitely. Follow God to the best
Who
of our
what keeps
abilities.
the who or what keeps the records of our medbed information?
Well, just to be honest with everybody, I am under a non-disclosure agreement, but I know for sure there's different types of med beds, as we call them, and I want to just follow up real quickly the different types of med beds. Okay, Chantelle has one that she believes takes from negative energy with the soul crystals. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about the light one, more similar to a Rife, RIFE, Rife machine. So with those type of machines, uh, to back up, 10 years ago or so, they had an amputee that they were scanning in the light frequency, and they could see his missing leg in the light frequency. They could see it. They could see the outline of it in the light frequency. And I'm making a basic explanation of this. So they could see his missing leg in light frequency. And then somebody started thinking, I wonder if just using light, could we trigger the cells and the stem cells or whatever it is in your body to start regrowing? Could we just tell the body, regrow this without changing DNA, without doing anything? So I don't know if they've been able to do that, but I know that they have these beds that you sit in, excuse me, that you lay down in, and it looks very much like a tanning bed, but it's a lot bigger and it creates an electromagnetic and light therapy field. And what it does is stimulates your stem cells to reproduce and it can de-age you. It can make you feel better. It can heal you. It can do all kinds of stuff, and that's what I'm speaking of. And I'm not speaking of where you get your DNA changed or the ones that you said take from other souls or whatever. We're not talking about that.
Would that not kind of be a similar type thing, though? If you have something that you're actually laying like in a tanning bed and it's actually scanning your entire system, picking up everything that it's picking up about you, would that not be the same sort of thing, though, as pretty much scanning or cloning your DNA?
No, because it doesn't do anything with your DNA to change it. Right now, if you get a magnetic resonance image, MRI, let's say somebody has a tumor in their brain. They can see the tumor. It doesn't eliminate the tumor. It doesn't change their DNA. It just sees it. So when you scan, you're not changing anything, you know.
My
You're
point
just
is, but my point is, when you're working with such an intelligent machine, because from what you're saying, that this machine is super intelligent, how do we know what is in there? Because you see, I don't believe, you see, this for me is external. When we healing, true, authentic healing comes from within. It comes from connecting from the light of God within you that only sees you in your healed state. That's why Jesus was the most profound healer, because he only ever saw those he healed fully healed. So that's how true and authentic healing occurs, from a spiritual place, and your body is designed to heal itself. So now when you are going to go and lay in a med bed, whether it's changing or altering your DNA or not, but it's screwing with your mind, because it's still telling you, come lay here, I can heal you. You don't have that ability within yourself. That's what they're saying to you by saying, I'm laying you down in a med bed so it can heal you, because you don't have the power to actually start healing yourself. And I disagree with that, because as a healer, I have healed myself from life-threatening illnesses, and I have observed as others have done the same, purely by connecting with that light of God that is much more powerful than a med bed. And I think med beds are yet to disempower people. It's like when you're taking away, like a big pharma. Look how they've disempowered humans over the last 50, 60 years, especially. Now it's just done on another way. It's just done in another way. Ooh, now we've got all the machines that can do it for you. Come lay. Get rid of your medication, but come lay in the machine and it will do it for you. Nope, I still don't agree with that. That's why I say a right machine assists you. You work with it. You might put it to a program that will say, okay, I've got a lung issue. Okay, my chest is closed, or whatever it is. So you might work it with a machine that works especially with that area of your body and those frequencies, but you are still working with it to heal yourself. And then that's when the stem cells are activated. So you're actually doing it with yourself. You're not giving your power away to something that says, I'm doing it for you. That's the danger here. And it's the same, in my opinion, as a healer. And it's like the same thing with these cancer vaccines. That thing is now supposedly cloning individual DNA so that it can heal you. Rubbish. Rubbish. There's no such thing, in my opinion. They're trying to do all sorts of other things with that. Cancer, if you understand where your cancer is coming from, and if you understand the source of your cancer, I assure you, you'll be able to heal your body by yourself. That I've proved over and over again. So that's the point I'm saying, is that we have the ability, we right now have a choice. Do we take a med bed, or do I choose God and spirit? That's the choice we have here. That's the way I see it, bro. Honestly, I mean, I know that not everyone's going to agree with me, But that's the way I see it. You either take these things, you take a Neuralink, you take a this, you take a that, whatever, that's going to make you super intelligent and heal your body for you, or you're going to go faith over fear. And then you've got to put that faith into action, because healing yourself means you have put faith over fear. Lying on a med bed is not faith over fear. Sorry. That's my story, Brock, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, you do have a gift. Everybody has a gift, and we know what yours is. So it's a blessing. Your healing gift is a blessing.
Well, I like to think that we have that power within us, and it's not an egoistic thing. It's a knowing that just glows from within. It's the light of God that says, I know who I am and I know what I'm capable of when it comes to certain things. So I hope everyone chooses that. Anyway, Brock, anything else? I know, I'm sorry, guys. We've kind of got, I've got Jerry shortly as well. So, Brock, I've really enjoyed what you've brought to our show today. Very, very interesting. I don't agree with technology like that at all, but I really enjoy seeing what is out there. I'm not sure, is there anything you want to say to us?
Yeah, just in conclusion too, I want to make sure that I plug both of our Telegram channels. Especially if you have
Yeah.
any questions you have for me personally, go in Chantelle's channel, tag me, or go in mine, Nesara 17 Telegram. You have any type of questions at all, religion, technology, anything, I'll be happy to help out where I can.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. We will, all Brock's information as well is in the description area. So absolutely. And you can definitely get a hold of him there. And in the meantime, guys, I will see you in about 45 minutes with Jerry Mozinski. We're going to be talking about schizophrenia. Is that the last outpost for narcissism? And you all know that Jerry's a wealth of information when it comes to stuff like that. So take care. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Saturday and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And if I don't see you later, maybe I'll see you tomorrow on Patreon with Jesse's Book Club. Otherwise, on Monday with Beverly. Oh, yes. And then this Tuesday, Juliet Rose Bryant. She's I chatted to you guys. She's the Epstein survivor from South Africa that was on Epstein Island for a year. Super interesting information there as well. So she will be with us this Thursday at 2:00 Central Africa time. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. Brock, thank you so much. We'll see you in a couple of weeks again. Take care, everybody. God bless you all.